Can everybody hear me okay? We're going to have a little bit of an echo in here tonight, simply because I'm not in my normal confines, but I just want to make sure that you guys could hear me. If you could hear me, just give me a heads up over on Rumble, please. Just a few of you will do instead of like 20-some thousand. Yes? Okay. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Good. Good. So this is unfortunately the audio we're going to be dealing with tonight. I have a backup microphone here, and I don't really have too good of systems, but we could get it done. So before we even get started, tonight is going to be a relatively short live, maybe about an hour and a half, somewhere in there. I got some commitments tonight that I have to get to, and I could fit in a live tonight. This wasn't the ideal night of the week, obviously, to do a live for me. One of the past couple nights were, but I just was unable to go live on those nights. So tonight, I could do it. It's just going to be squeezed into like an hour and a half time frame, which is only a little bit shorter than what I normally do anyway. So that's just fair warning. I also wanted to apologize for the last couple nights of cancellations. Sometimes real life gets in the way, and I'm just not able to sit down and do a live stream. Other times I'm not necessarily allowed to talk about certain things, for a little bit more of an extended period of time while some things get tidied up in the meantime. And then sometimes it's just a scheduling conflict or whatever. So, those nights happen, and I do apologize, especially for scheduling them and then not coming through with them. Obviously, I know that's frustrating for a lot of people, and just so you guys know, it's frustrating for me too, because I know it's disappointing, and that bothers me, obviously. So my apologies for the last couple nights, but here I am now. I intend to do another live probably within the next few days. I don't know exactly when yet, though, but by the weekend, I think I'll have one. I just have to get a couple things straightened out, and then I'll announce it. I'll probably announce it tomorrow. So before we get started, I have one main topic tonight that I want to talk about, and we'll get to that in a second. But before we get started, why don't you guys tell me where you're from? Lake Travis, Texas, Claremont, North Carolina. New Ink? No, it's not New Ink. It's all the same ink. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Hobbs, New Mexico. No relation to fake Governor Hobbs. Perry, Georgia. Rhode Island. That's how they spelled it too, just like that. Bernie, California. Crosby, Texas. Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Charleston, South Carolina. Tuttle, Oklahoma. Eastman, Georgia. Asheville, Ohio. Roanoke, Virginia. Woodbine, Maryland. Calgary, Alberta. Belgium, Poland. Huntersville, North Carolina. Lower Hudson Valley, New York. Really sorry for what's going on in New York right now. You guys are really having a hard time up there. Avon Park, Florida. Kami, California. It's probably not real. Hutto, Texas, or could be Hutto, Texas. Hutto. Magnolia, Texas. Belton, South Carolina. Ava, New York. Esacas, Minnesota. Dracut, Massachusetts. Mackenzie, Tennessee. Big Island, Virginia. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Reno, Nevada. Queen Creek, Arizona. Silver Springs, Florida. A couple more. Mesa, Arizona. Toronto, Ontario. Anoka, Minnesota. That's a cool one to say. Anoka, Minnesota. Hey. And one more. Hollywood, Maryland. I didn't know there was a Hollywood in Maryland, but apparently there is. Cool. All right, so we're going to talk about the deep state hit list tonight. That's a very popular topic over the last week or so. I have some input in it that I'm going to add to what Ivan Raiklin has said. We're going to watch the entire Ivan Raiklin video, and I'm going to comment on it on the way. And I think we're going to get a really good, I know that I've shared this already on Telegram, but I also understand that most of you that are watching right now are not on Telegram. And when I did share it on Telegram, obviously I didn't share anything to, highlight any of the points that Ivan was making. But we're going to talk about Ivan. We're going to talk about what this whole hit list means, how it affects us, and how it affects the overall, grand scheme of things that we've been talking about for the last 4 years. Okay. Before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about silver. What a week for silver, huh? Now, obviously, we saw a little bit of a downturn today, but one thing that I want you to realize now, and you're going to see it over the next several weeks and months and for a long time, there is a new floor for silver now. It was hovering down there, $22, $23, $25, $18, $17. A lot of us bought it when it was at 17. Imagine that. There is almost no way that silver could drop below about $29 to $30 anymore ever again. And you saw what happened today with the market. If you haven't seen it, let me see what it's at right now, actually. See what it closed at. Okay, so it closed down 50 cents and it's at just under $31 spot price, $30.98. So they are doing everything they could to get that number back down, and they can't do it. It's just dropping a little bit. So what happens here is, as the price goes up, they have to put an incredible amount of energy to get it back down, an incredible amount of money to get it back down. And they're doing that. That's what they've been doing pretty much all week. This week, last week, it just kept going up and up and up and nothing could control it. They don't have the money to do it anymore. So every time silver goes up and hits one of these new plateaus, they have to spend more and more and more to get it to go back down. And they don't have it. So it goes up, they spend a little bit to get it down, but then it goes up higher, they spend a little bit to get it down. What was happening before was it would go up, but slowly, and then they'd spend and it would fall like a rock in water, right? That's not happening anymore. Those days are gone. So what we see now is it's going to be impossible for, and the reason, before I even get into that, the reason that this is happening is because of the fraud. We've been talking about silver fraud for years. I've been talking about it. The COMEX fraud. Remember I told you to watch COMEX? Not because I wanted you to invest in COMEX or anything like that. COMEX was fraudulent. The whole COMEX market was fraudulent. So now that we've hit these plateaus and we've got to these, lines of demarcation, silver's not going back down below $30. It's just not going to happen. So if you bought in the 20s, which I was really encouraging you guys to do, you got yourself an equity pile that's just going to sit for a very, very long time, if not forever. And what's going to happen is, as this keeps going up, $35, the next big one's 39. When that spot price gets to 40, there's no stopping it after that. I mean, you're talking $10 overnight, very, very possible, from the time the market closes to the time the market opens. A lot of experts are now saying into the hundreds, well into the hundreds by the end of the year. We are sitting on the next wave of silver millionaires. And I'm really proud and I'm really happy and I'm really honored to have put this in front of you in an early stage before it went to the moon and no one could afford it. Now, much like I warned you when silver was $20 an ounce spot price, I'm warning you right now that this $30 an ounce spot price is not going to stick around for very long. So if that is still something you could afford, now is the time. I have experts that I've heard over the last week or so that are now saying they see gold getting into the $5,000 to $7,000 an ounce range by the end of this year. It's going to take a little while for gold and silver to get on a 1-to-1 ratio like it should be. But once it does, I just hope you guys got on board. I obviously have many different companies that could help you get on board if you haven't yet. Goldquiz.com obviously is one of them. Goldquiz.com helps you roll over an IRA, a 401k, a 403b, or something similar. Or you could also EFT transfer large amounts of money and put it into gold and silver that way. So if you haven't done that yet, please do. It's obviously in your best interest. You could see the writing on the wall. You could see everything that's been happening. And then, of course, I have Phil Silver, philsilver.com. That is a subscription-based company, which will send you a coin every single month without even thinking. Graded coin, hard plastic, MS70, 1-ounce coin, Silver Eagle. Both excellent companies to get involved with. So if you haven't yet, please join one of those. Join us on one of those endeavors and hop on the next wave of silver millionaires, because I think a lot of us are going there. So I know there's a little bit of a voice delay. Nothing I could do about that. I don't know why it's happening. I could try shutting my mic off and turning it back on, I guess. Not sure if that helped anything, but I shut my mic off. I turned my mic back on. Maybe we have internet issues. Let me try to shut some of my Wi-Fi off here. There we go. If that didn't help anything, then there's nothing I could do. You're just going to have to bear with it for tonight. I told you I'm not in my... I already told you I anticipated some audio problems, and we're already having those audio problems. So it's probably going to stay this way. I'm actually looking at a screen over here, and I am a little fuzzy too. The video seems a little off. Unplug the mic. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could, but try doing that. Any better? I don't know. These are probably issues that we're just going to have to deal with. I don't know. Looks good here. You're fine. Okay. Well, we're just going to keep going. Big shout out to all of the many thousands of people who signed up for my X Patches system over the past week. My team did an excellent job of getting everyone enrolled, and also we've started the training process into how to become a brand partner and how to start selling and earning commission with LifeWave. So congratulations to everybody that got signed up in there. You're absolutely going to love those patches, and you're absolutely going to love being part of our team as we train you for your next employment gig, which is, believe it or not, going to be a lot easier than you think, and going to earn probably a lot more money than you're anticipating it would. So congratulations to everybody that signed up over the last week. We still have appointments available on our calendar. If you're looking to get involved and you haven't yet, that's xpatches.philgodlewski.live, xpatches.philgodlewski.live. Worse, I made it worse. There's an echo. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. This is going to be the best. The best we could do is what we're doing. So at least we're here tonight. Hopefully you guys could get a sense of what's going on once I start playing the video of Ivan. So here's what we're going to do. For about the next hour, we're going to talk about the deep state target list. This is something that Ivan Raiklin has coined as a phrase. And basically what it is a list that he himself has compiled. At least that's what he says, that he himself has compiled, that is basically a target list of all of the deep state and cabal entities that have had some hand in the treasonous activities that have taken place over the last 4 years and beyond that as well. But since the election and even before the election, Ivan, I just want you guys to know before I play the video, Ivan should not have recorded this and put it out, but he did. I don't think he said anything too much to disturb the course of events that's going to happen, but this is the type of thing, this is the type of video that gets somebody like me or somebody like Ivan in trouble. You shouldn't be saying certain things. And I know Ivan wants it to come out so bad. He could taste it. He is so full of vengeance. He wants revenge. He wants the people who have attempted to destroy this country. He wants them taken down. Probably more than or just as much as anyone. And I believe Ivan is just, he's dead accurate about just about everything that he said. And we're going to go over that tonight. As the video is playing, I'm going to comment on the video and I'm going to tell you some things that you may or may not have known in certain areas of the video. So before we get to that, or let me make sure I got the video and the audio up here before I do anything else. Okay. All right, here we go. We're going to give this a try.
What's your name and what organization are you with? Zoe Chase. Zoe Chase. And the show is called This American Life. It's a radio show. And what radio program is it on? It's its own show. It airs all over. Who sponsors it? Is it on what program? It's a for-profit company. It's an independent company. It airs on public radio stations. So it's on NPR? Yeah, it's on public radio, but it's on NPR program. Okay. So what is your question? Have you talked to me before? Yeah, we met, and it was like 2 years. Sure. Yeah. Which reawakening? It was the first one I went to was in Nashville. Nashville? Yeah. I'm not sure if I was in Nashville, and that was not the first one. No, it was my first one. It wasn't the first one. But it was like a hotel meet and greet afterwards as well. And you're based out of where? Yeah. What brings you down here? When you have that trial up there, that you should get focused on. How do they allocate that? Well, do you get tasked to come down? Not really. I gotta get to be my own choices, but our show is like a documentary show more. It's like a magazine. Okay. And so we don't do breaking news. So do you want to do a sit-down long-form interview with me? Well, actually, I was just going to answer kind of like what brought you here, like why you were here, and what you made of it. I'll put a post up about it with that question. And then you can follow that on X, Telegram, Truth, Getter, my Rumble channel, and all the other ones.
I was afraid of this, guys. Let me try to mess with some things here. I know. We can't hear. I could see all the comments. I get it. Just let me try to figure something else out here. The thing is, we didn't miss anything in the first minute there. He was just kind of vetting the reporter. The audio on this system that I have is awful. I mean, awful. Okay, let me try doing something different. Having a little bit of problems with the audio and the video. If you're just tuning in, just give me a moment while I hook it up a different way, which I think is going to work. At least it'll be louder where you could hear it. I think it's still going to be a little out of sync, but at least you'll understand what's going on. I don't think it necessarily needed to be synced up for this to work. So here we go. We're going to try this again. Okay, so before we get restarted, I want to introduce everybody to Ivan Rakelin. Let me talk into the mic, Phil. Ivan Rakelin is an attorney, and he's also a former Green Beret in the United States military. So Ivan has been practicing law, specifically is very well-versed in constitutional law for a very long time. If you've never seen Ivan or heard of Ivan before, he has been around since right after the election fraud. And he went out there telling everybody, hey, they can't do this, they can't do that, they can't do this. If they do this, this is what's going to happen. If they do that, that's what's going to happen. He was right there for us for the last 4 years. He's been there, and he is pissed. And when I mean pissed, he is pissed. He does not believe what is in office right now in terms of the United States government is legitimate. And he totally believes that the fraud is not only going to be exposed, but it's going to be exposed on a very, very large scale. And many, many people are going down for this. We're talking about arrests, mass arrests. We're talking about the sealed indictments. We're talking about all of those things. Okay. So Ivan is very, very, very anti-deep state. And you're about to hear a whole lot of that right now. So let me get this up. Very, very, very anti-deep state. And sorry, let me get myself off of there. Glad I'm coming in loud and clear at least. All right, here we go. All right, we're gonna try this again. Let's go. Again, the audio and the video are gonna be out of sync a little bit, but it's better than nothing. So here we go.
What's your name and what organization are you with? Zoe Chase.
And the show is called This American Life. It's a radio show.
And what radio program is it on?
It's its own show. It airs all the
Who sponsors it? Is it on what program?
It's a for-profit company. It's its own independent company. It airs on public radio stations.
So it's on NPR?
Yeah, it's on public radio. It's on NPR. So it's on NPR.
Okay. So what is your question? Have you talked to me before?
Yeah, we met, and it was like 2 years ago. Yeah.
Which rework?
It was the first one I went to was in Nashville.
Nashville.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I was in Nashville, and that was not the first one.
No, it was my first one. It
Okay.
wasn't the first one. But there was like a hotel meet and greet after.
And you're based out of where?
Yeah.
Once you got here, then you had that trial up there. That you
And
should
it's a
get
personal
yourself.
trial.
How did that help with that?
Well,
Do you get tasked to come down?
not really. I gotta get to be my own choices, but our show is like a documentary show more. It's like a magazine.
Okay.
And so we don't do breaking news.
So
So,
do you want to do a sit-down long form interview with me?
well, actually, I was just gonna ask you kind of like what brought you here, like why you were here and what you made of it. But we can
I'll
talk.
put a post up about
Uh-huh.
it with that question.
On,
And then you can follow that on X, Telegram,
yeah.
Truth,
Mhm.
Getter, my Rumble channel.
Okay, obviously, guys, this isn't working out. I'm getting a little frustrated now, so just give me a second, and I promise I'm going to figure this out. Just hold on.
Right.
And all the other ones. And I can provide you that.
I just followed you on Twitter. It sounds like
Okay. Which one?
Uh,
Ivan Raikkonen?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, because the other one's still censored by Brian Alton at the FBI. Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
So my Raikkonen account is still being censored by the FBI's Brian Alton, Laura Demlow, Joe Pienka, and Elvis Chan.
Well, so you started a new account.
No, that still exists because it was reinstated. Those are the individuals that are at the FBI that run the censorship industrial complex on behalf of this illegitimate regime. Do you know those names?
No.
I didn't provide you much detail on. They were the ones also in.
I guess I
Okay, I think I got it figured out now. We're going to restart it one more time. Here we go.
I didn't know who would be here. Can I just ask if the box is here today?
What's your name and what organization are you with?
Zoe Chase.
Zoe Chase.
Mm-hmm. And the show is called This American Life. It's a radio show.
And what radio program is it on?
It's its own show.
All right. Now I see what was happening. Now we're good. Here we go.
I didn't know who would be here. Can I just ask if the brought you here today?
What's your name and what organization are you with?
Zoe Chase.
Zoe Chase.
Mm-hmm. And the show is called This American Life. It's a radio show.
And what radio program is it on?
It's its own show. It airs all over.
Who sponsors it? Is it on what program?
It's a for-profit company. It's its own independent company. It airs on public radio stations.
So it's on NPR?
Yeah, it's on public radio, but it's on an NPR program. It's its own thing.
Okay. So what is your question? You talked to me before?
Yeah, we met, and it was like 2
Are you
years
sure?
ago. Yeah.
Which reawakening?
It was the first one I went to was in Nashville.
Nashville.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I was in Nashville, and that was not the first one.
No, it was my first one. It
Okay.
wasn't the first one. But there was like a hotel meet and greet afterwards with
And you're based out of where?
Yeah.
Once you got here, when you had that trial up there, that you
I don't
should
get
get
to cover
focused
the
on.
trial. That's not my-
How did they allocate that?
Well,
Do you get tasked to come down
not really. I gotta get to be my own choices, but our show is like a documentary show more. It's like a magazine.
here? Okay.
And so we don't do breaking news.
So
So,
do you want to do a sit-down long form interview with me?
well, actually, I was just gonna ask you kind of like what brought you here, like why you were here and what you made of it. But we can talk.
I'll put a post up about
Uh-huh.
it with that question.
On,
And then you can follow that on X,
okay.
Telegram,
Yeah.
Truth,
Mm-hmm.
Getter, my Rumble channel,
Right.
and all the other ones. And I can provide you that.
I just followed you on Twitter. It sounds like
Okay. Which one?
Uh,
Ivan Raikkonen?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, because the other one's still censored by Brian Alton at the FBI.
Okay.
So my Rayclan account is still being censored by the FBI's Brian Alton, Laura Demlow, Jill Pienka, and Elvis Chan.
So I think it's pretty interesting that he goes up and he says the exact names of the FBI agents that are looking into his Twitter account and why it's being censored or how it's being censored on Twitter. He literally just listed the agents from the FBI that are personally responsible for censoring his Twitter account. Now, let me ask you a question. If you or anyone else you know was being investigated by the FBI, in this case, he calls them the FBI, which is the funniest thing I've heard in a very long time. But if you or anyone else was under investigation or being censored on a social media platform by the FBI, do you honestly think you would ever find out the names of the agents that were censoring you? No way. No stinking way. So with that said, now we know that this guy, it should be a good indicator that this guy is the real deal. Okay, and he goes on to talk about this. So let's listen in.
So you started a new account?
No, that still exists because it was reinstated. Those are the individuals that are at the FBI that run the censorship industrial complex on behalf of this illegitimate regime. Do you know those names?
No.
I can provide you much detail on them. They were the ones also involved in the original illegal Crossfire Hurricane spying operation on General Flynn, Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, Lee Paul Manafort. I have receipts on every single individual. That's why they haven't really come after me yet, because if they bring me in, the entire regime comes crumbling down. Okay? So they are scared of me, not the other way around.
That makes more sense. You, on your Twitter bio, I noticed today it says Secretary of Retribution.
Yep.
I just wondered what that
guarantee, yeah, that means that I will guarantee consequences for a list of at least 350 individuals that are on my deep state target list.
350 individuals that Ivan says he will guarantee consequences for on what he calls his deep state target list. So interestingly enough, the names that he mentioned so far, which are the individuals that he says are responsible for censoring his Twitter account, those same names are the same names that were responsible for Crossfire Hurricane, which was basically Obama and Hillary Clinton's plot to spy on Trump's campaign during the 2016 election. So these people are not only still in the FBI, but they took part in treason. Treason. It is treason to do what they did to Donald Trump in Crossfire Hurricane. Yet here Trump is in, trial for paying off a prostitute. Does anyone really care if he paid off a prostitute? I don't really care at all. I mean, if he just stood up in New York and said, hey guys, you know what? Yeah, I did it. Is he going to lose any votes? I'm sorry, I don't think he is. But yet, here's these FBI agents who spied on a presidential candidate, the soon-to-be president, and set up General Flynn and charged Flynn with treason. Treason carries the death penalty, right? That's what they charged Flynn with. And yet these guys are still operational in the FBI.
Okay.
And when you read that deep state target list, remember I'm an attorney and I'm retired member. Okay?
I don't know. That I might be interested in talking with you more about is your deep state target list. If there's time.
Elon Musk has it, Michael Schellenberger has it, Matt Taibbi has it, the Judiciary Committee has it, the Weaponization Committee has it, the Oversight Subcommittee that is part of the House Administration Committee has it, the House Freedom Caucus has it, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, likely has it. And it's just a matter of time for a joint press conference to take place between Speaker Johnson and Elon Musk to go ahead and disclose and release the Twitter direct messages of those individuals on my deep state target list, proving the seditious conspiracy going back to 2016, the illegal spying operation on the Trump campaign. You're also going to find the involvement of Mike Pence and his chief of staff, Joshua Pitcock, in that conspiracy, along with Josh Pitcock's wife, Catherine Seaman, who was the senior Russian analyst for Peter Strzok, who was one of the two individuals that was deployed by Jim Comey and Andrew McCabe to get General Flynn to lie or to get him fired, as per Bill Priestap's notes, which was the Deputy Assistant Director of Counterintelligence at the FBI.
That's a long
I
list.
can go in much more detail, but that's generally the crux of it.
Do you get to meet with Jim Jordan and talk about this stuff?
I meet with everybody.
All these guys?
Every single member that you think I talk to or may talk to, I talk to them.
And what do you guys talk about? Like, what's the reason that you talk to them?
Everything that I put out publicly,
Yeah.
I also provide that to them.
And I guess
I don't do
what
anything
is-
behind the scenes, like behind closed doors.
I guess what it-
So this is a good part for me to mention how the hierarchy works a little bit in the structure or the logistical planning, I guess, of the White Hats. This operation that you're living through, this great awakening that you've been living through, whether you like it or not, you are living through it. And we have compartmentalized many different roles and many different people in certain compartments, in certain areas of expertise, in certain strengths that certain individuals have. We've put those people in prominent places so they could affect the most amount of change and help the most amount of people in the role that they are sitting in. So it turns out that I have a certain set of skills, myself, I have a certain set of skills that I could provide to our movement. And because I excel at those skills, it helps the overall cause, okay? General Flynn has a certain set of skills and a certain set of expertise that helps the overall cause. Ivan Raiklin has a certain set of skills and expertise that help the cause. It is not a group of people that are all doing the same thing. It is a separation of individuals who do not talk to each other, but yet still carry out the operation and do their job specifically, whatever their job is. My role kind of switched a little bit from what I was originally doing to what I'm doing right now, being on a live stream. Why? Because I could command an audience. I could command an audience. I could get an audience. I could hold an audience for a long period of time. And I have the ability to articulate certain things probably better than other people could. So I kind of transitioned into this social media platform role where I have these millions of people that watch me and I'm able to convey a message clearly, accurately, believably, and with confidence. So in addition to all the other things that I provide for the movement, I also provide this service. Ivan provides a completely different service. His expertise is law. His expertise is military. He is an asset to the overall plan. And he's explaining it to this girl. And why he's doing that, I don't really know. I don't really know how he didn't get in big trouble for this one. But it's here anyway, and we might as well analyze it while it is. So he's already named a bunch of names on his target list. He's going to name more, and he's going to get into some specific accusations and some specific details about how he believes that these individuals are finally going to go down in the form of massive arrests.
Because like, what are you hoping to get out of talking to them? Like, why do you do it?
I want to guarantee Elon Musk discloses the direct messages for the mother of all Twitter files so that the entire country can see what just occurred to them starting from the illegal spying operation, the corrupt DOJ and FBI. The raid on Mar-a-Lago was to seize the evidence that was declassified by Donald Trump in the last few hours of his first term, which involved the Crossfire hurricane details, which would list all the names that I've mentioned so far. Whether it was Lisa Page, who was Andy McCabe's chief counsel at the time, along with Peter Strzok, by a guy by the name of Joseph Pientka III, who is currently the number 3 individual at the San Francisco field office. You have the chief, you have the special agent in charge, you have a ASAC, assistant special agents in charge, and then you have the ASAC for counterintelligence. That guy is a guy by the name of Joseph Pientka III, who was the second agent that was deployed to interview General Flynn on January 24th, 2017, in order to get General Flynn fired or to get him to lie. And that was an entrapment. And that's the same agent that was deployed in August of 2016 to the Trump campaign to do what they call a counterintelligence briefing, a defensive one, but with the secondary purpose in order to, and this was him, Pientka, along with Trump, Chris Christie. You know that Chris Christie's attorney during this Bridgegate scandal was Christopher Wray?
I didn't know that.
Well, now you know. And then the third person in that meeting was a guy by the name of General Flynn. Joe Pientka was deployed by the Crossfire Hurricane leadership, authorized by the general counsel at the time, Jim Baker, who then later became the Twitter 1.0 number 2 lawyer, to coordinate the censorship industrial complex, to cover up and censor and suspend those individuals that expose their corruption, okay? And it just keeps mounting and mounting and mounting the cover-ups. This is just they're trying to take out Trump now because they were able to take out their first existential threat, which was General Flynn, because he would have been the first one to go ahead and expose this level of corruption because he knows the system. Now that Trump knows the system after being 4 years in it, he is now an existential threat to that very DOJ, the national security apparatus. Remember, 39 individuals unmasked General Flynn. Okay, one of them was Jamie Raskin's wife, Sarah Raskin. Totally unlawful, unmasking. Look that up. The 51 individuals that said the Biden laptop had all the earmarks of a Russian information campaign, where your colleagues over at Politico published that on their website. One of those 51 individuals is John Brennan. Another one is a guy by the name of David Buckley. David Buckley ended up becoming the staff director for Liz Cheney's and Benny Thompson and Nancy Pelosi's January 6th cover-up committee.
So it's a pretty small world, it sounds like.
So David Buckley was tasked to create a list and do his deep state target list of political targets. So now it's my turn. I have a deep state target list, and I'm coming for all of them. And what does that mean when I say coming for all of them? It means the most legal, moral, and ethical consequences to the maximum, to include the maximum punishment for treason. I personally guarantee that they're going to face those consequences. And you can take a look at that list.
Like, are you going to sue them? Is that what you would do?
Just wait for it. You will see it. It will be so visible for the entire world to see and hear. I'll give you some examples.
Okay.
Before he gets into the examples, he just said, just so we were clear, he just said that the names on his list are going to face the most legal, ethical, and moral consequences to the maximum level that anyone could possibly face. So what I've been talking about here are essentially the people who committed election fraud, number one, conspired against Trump, with the impeachment hoaxes and, the Crossfire Hurricane stuff, which he's mentioned. And of course, the overall cabal. And if you think about 350 names, we're not just talking like, a few dozen people that are within the FBI or the CIA. 350 names is a lot of names. That is a lot of names. So when the reporter asks Ivan, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to sue them? Like, what's your end goal? What are you going to do? Like, she's so ditzy. I can't even imagine being this person and thinking that they work for, like, they're doing an interview. It's just mind boggling that people like this have a career. She's just so bleh, like just nothing's going on behind those eyes. Anyway, what are you going to do? Are you going to sue them? No, I'm not going to sue them. Just wait. That was his answer. Just wait. And what he also indicated, anyway, he didn't come out and say it directly, but what he indicated is that it's going to be very, very public and very, very visible, which is something that I've been saying for a long time. I've been not only advocating, but predicting or foreshadowing mass arrests. I've been talking about the sealed indictment list for 4 years. And it's all starting to come out now. It's all playing out right before our eyes. And Ivan goes on to say a lot more stuff, so we're going to listen, but I wanted to put that little blurb in there just to kind of clarify a couple things and make sure we're following this correctly.
I'm going to incorporate the precedence that's already been set. So we're going to incorporate what was done to General Flynn. We're going to incorporate what was done to Steve Bannon, what was done to Peter Navarro, what was done to Mike Lindell, what was done to Scott Perry. Translation: expect to see live stream swatting raids of every single individual on that deep state target list because the precedence has already been set. Remember when Mike Lindell in the Hardee's parking lot, the FBI went and conducted armed robbery of him in Minnesota? Remember when Peter Navarro was swatted in an airport? Remember when Steve Bannon, on multiple occasions within the U.S. Capitol Police jurisdictional zone, conducted swattings and allowed for swattings to take place of Steve Bannon and his residence? Remember the armed robbery and burglary of Roger Stone that was live streamed by your colleagues over at Criminal News Network? That we're going to take in the collective and do that, okay? It does not matter what happens in the election. It does not matter who wins the election. This is going to take place at the hands of the American people, with or without an election, and with or without whoever wins the election. I guarantee you that that will take place at the county and state level, because right now the federal government is not in a position because of its capture and its corruption. So imagine this: when you take a look at the direct messages and the geotagged location data of the 350 plus members on that deep state target list, and then you curate that, Elon Musk, and then do geotagging of the communications, and then you present those communications to name the county of the 3,143 county and county equivalents in our nation. The 50 states and the 6 federal districts, right? Okay. And then you identify where a treasonous communication took place. And then you present that to the local DA, similar to good old Alvin Bragg. That then will create the nexus to showcase this criminal, conspiratorial, seditious conspiracy and treason charge. And that local DA, the local sheriff, will then be deputizing folks like Ivan Raiklan and those of us that were thrown out of the military because we did not comply with the illegal DNA mutilation injection, the forced DNA mutilation injection.
To the vaccine?
I'm talking about the CCP-19 lab incident money-making scheme by Pfizer. The Pfizer failed, the Moderna mutilation, or whether it was just a myocarditis-making, heart-exploding J&J jab. So those of us that were either thrown out or left because we would not participate in the DNA mutilation of our own physiological beings. There's 80,000 of us that are ready, willing, and able in order to be deputized by appropriate sheriffs throughout the country to be participants as lawful deputies to conduct the live stream swatting raids of every single person that we can identify that conducted the necessary unlawful activity by county on my deep state target list.
So he's throwing out numbers now, and the numbers are pretty interesting. Basically, what he's saying is, instead of utilizing the police or the federal government or Department of Justice or whatever to carry out these arrests, he's talking about, and he mentioned a number, and it's a big number. 80,000 of us, he said. 80,000 of us. That's a number, and it's a big, big number. And I'm fairly certain, by the way, and I think you'll agree with me, just not knowing anything about Ivan Raiklin, just listening to him and the way that he's talking and his eye contact that he's making, you can even see it with the still screen that's on my screen right now. He's not just pulling that number out of thin air. He believes that he has 80,000 people that are not only ready to be deputized to take on this task, and the task that he's talking about is arresting the individuals that have committed these treasonous crimes. He is saying that there's 80,000 people that are about to be deputized to carry out these arrests. 80,000 for a 350 person list. Think about that for a minute. You have to arrest 350 people, but you have 80,000 people to do it. How many people per arrest can you get there? Let's do the math on that, actually. Believe it or not, it's not something I could do in my head. 80,000 divided by 350, 228 people, roughly. About 200 people per arrest. You think they're going to get away? Now, do you need 80,000? No, obviously you don't. But geez, 10,000 to do, huh? Imagine the force you would have. If somebody gets deputized, imagine the force you would have to arrest those 350 scumbags that have done this to our country. He also mentioned earlier in the video, live streaming it, putting it all over. We don't need the news. Who needs the news? You know, we got Elon. He's mentioned Elon Musk about a half a dozen times so far, and he's going to mention him again. We have Elon. We have Twitter. We have live streaming capability to Rumble. We have live streaming capability to locals. All of us have been practicing and preparing for this exact moment for a very, very long time. And it appears that that moment has arrived. Now, who's going to call the final order? Who's going to say go? Well, I don't know. When's it going to be? I don't know. But if Ivan's out there and he's able to post something like this, I have a feeling that that time is coming. I have a feeling that that time is coming. And we're very, very close to it. So let's listen to the rest.
Questions. Where did you get the 80,000 number? First question.
Yeah. So 8,600, about 8,500 approximately, were thrown out of the military. Okay.
Because they wouldn't do the vaccine.
Because it wasn't a vaccine. The name of vaccine, the definition changed before the rollout, and it was never approved by the FDA. There was never a product that was approved by the FDA to then be able to coerce and manipulate into other people's bodies. Don't believe me? Look at the footnote on FDA's own quote-unquote approval of Pfizer's Comirnaty. Legally distinct, and the product was never created. The Pfizer BioNTech was created, but that one was never approved. That was only under emergency use authorization. So I need to correct you on that one. You need to do some more studying there, okay?
Mhm.
Next, 80,000, okay? As far as the 80,000 goes, that's the minimum that I see of folks that left the military early through retirement and ended their careers early because of the illegal mandate that was promulgated by and enforced by the entire chain of command. Those are also going to be, many of the members on the deep state target list are those military leaders, quote unquote leaders, I call them failures within the Department of Defense and at the Pentagon, that will face similar consequences for forcing and coercing unlawfully the mutilation of another person's body and thus minimizing and destroying our personal readiness
So this is
within
all
the
those
DoD.
2020 people you're talking
No.
about.
Come on. Are you going to ask that question in that level of ignorance? 2016, Crossfire Hurricane?
No. I mean, I'm
Hello?
saying the 80,000 that you
At this
referenced.
point, you're wasting my time if you don't even have that level of context. Take a couple hundred hours to research the subject, follow my work on Rumble. Once you see that, I want you to identify one thing that I have incorrect, and then you can start coming after me with questions to scrutinize it, because you have not done the necessary requisite research to for me to even give you my time. So I think that's about it.
Here's one last question. You don't have to
It
answer.
better be intelligent.
Well, I don't guess that'll be the eye of the beholder. You don't think, you were saying it doesn't matter what happens in the election. So you don't think you need sort of the protection of Trump's Justice Department to do some of what you're talking about?
No, because we're going after the Justice Department.
But like,
They are the enemy. That's what we fail to understand. The individuals that I mentioned are the enemy of our constitutional order. We're coming for them maximally. And how we're coming for them is because we are engaging with counties and states in order to crush them.
with the,
That's something that I absolutely have to comment on. Did you hear what he said? He said, she's like, well, how are you going to do it? She's like, how are you going to do it? Look at this girl. She's like, how are you going to do it? How are you going to, if you don't have the backing of Trump's administration, how are you going to go after DOJ? How are you going to, and Ivan's like, well, they're the problem. We don't need the DOJ on our side because we're going after the DOJ. And he's like, well, she's like, well, how though? Like, that doesn't make any sense. How are you going to go after them if, you don't have an arm to do it? And he already mentioned the military, but now he's getting into, he specifically just said, we are coordinating with states. We are coordinating with states to do what she's asking about. So he is saying that there's coordination taking place with each individual state government, legislature, police departments. Who knows who they're actually talking to? But he says that the communication is happening with different states to go ahead and not only remove power from certain branches of the Department of Justice, but also be able to conduct arrests. Keep in mind, guys, there's a lot more patriots in this country than there are deep state actors. There's a lot more patriots in this country than there are traitors, liberals. Liberals are not patriots. Liberals are very confused, and some liberals are so radical that they'll never make it back into our society. They'll never be reaccepted into our society, into how the world is. It'll probably be the next generation after them that finally gets it. So I think that piece of information right there is very, very telling. He said that we are coordinating with states and their governments to get this task done. That is huge. That is a go around to approach the Department of Justice with arrests, or the FBI or the CIA with arrests. It's a complete go around. If you're dealing with the states specifically and all of their resources that they have, you could take on the federal government. You really could. And you could be successful at it too.
vis-a-vis, like, via the sheriffs, basically.
What do you think Alvin Bragg's doing right now? Is that a federal officer? Exactly my point. Look at the counties in this country that are red versus blue.
Mm-hmm.
It is overwhelmingly red. So Alvin Bragg and the Dems are setting our precedent as we go on offense.
Well, thanks, Ivan.
It's going to be a doozy. And I love it when it's spicy. And there are, again,
I believe you.
out of the 80,000 of us,
Mhm.
we are clamoring to be deputized by sheriffs nationwide in order to conduct the necessary live stream raids, if they want to push us to that.
So if I did want to follow up with you, and
I'll say lastly,
yeah,
there are over 1 million service members. I'm gonna say this. You said Secretary of Retribution. The Secretary of Retribution consists of 3 divisions. Number 1, the research arm. And should there be a mechanism where we create it, it's going to be the first division. Again, everything I'm telling you, I've already said publicly. And I have many podcasts where I've said this. So number 1, we're going to have a research arm to continue to develop our targets, okay?
okay,
Number 2, and that's going to be staffed by January 6th defendants, family members, as well as their lawyers, since they've already kind of conducted some of that research.
Mhm.
So they're already kind of interned, if you will, over the last 3.5 years.
Mhm.
Number 2 will be the second division, which will include the action arm. The 80,000 of us that have decades of conducting this type of activity of action and targets overseas, right?
Mhm.
And the third arm is going to consist of those that will live stream, right? Independent media, obviously not your organization, won't be included in that.
but we don't.
But they will
live
ride
streams.
along. They will ride along the live stream, the swattings and raids of the second division that I just mentioned, that are properly and appropriately deputized to conduct those raids. And then the first arm is obviously going to be the one that create those lists. We're just using the playbook and the precedent that has already been developed to target those that conducted lawful First Amendment activity on January 6th and everything downstream from that.
So if you say you don't need, you're not waiting for Trump's election, like when are you planning to do it?
Stand by.
So
Just keep an eye on things.
Okay, so how could I follow up with you?
So you can follow everything I do online. Everything's public.
But like,
And
He says, so she said, well, if you're not waiting for Trump and you're not doing this and whatever, how are you going to do it? When's it going to happen? And he's like, stand by. That was the greatest part of the entire interview, I think. Stand by. What a smile. You couldn't see his face when he said it because he had the camera on the reporter, but you could feel like him smiling when he said it. You know how when you smile, you could hear like somebody, they sound different when you're smiling. He said that with a smirk, and I thought that was the best part of the interview. Stand by. We're working on it. Stand by. So I think this is, again, like I said, I think this is a huge step in the right direction, and more importantly than a huge step in the right direction, because I think a lot of us have known for quite a while that this was going on. I've been talking about this kind of stuff on my show for a very, very long time. What we haven't seen was some sort of audio clip, some sort of podcast, some sort of whoa. I don't know what happened there. If it blinked, I'm sorry, but it looks like I'm back. That was weird. Some sort of confirmation from a major name in our movement to come out and tell us something. We haven't seen that, right? Now we're seeing it. We're seeing more and more stuff come out. We're seeing more verbiage come out that are confirming a lot of the things that we've been talking about for many years. So I guess the question remains, well, why did it take this long? Why are we still waiting? Is this more false hope? Is this that? Is this, whatever? Yeah, I mean, you could think of it that way if you want. You could always think of something in a negative way, in a pessimistic way. It's totally fine if you want to do that. But all of the intel that I have, all of the source confirmation stuff that I have, and everything else that you see happening, from not only politics, but what's happening with metals right now, which we've been talking about for years as well. All of these same things have all come together all at the same time in the last several months, couple months, few months since the beginning of the year. Everything has just hit us right in the face, right? I want to point out one more thing, and then we're going to end the show, because as I said, I had a certain amount of time tonight. We're right around that hour and a half mark now. I find it very coincidental, and I think you guys know, I don't believe very much in coincidences, right? And I think we all know why I don't believe in coincidences, and why none of us really believe in coincidences. I find it extraordinarily coincidental that Ivan Raiklin mentioned a big number, 80,000 people ready to be deputized. If we think back maybe a year or two, was there another big number around 80,000 that were just hired for something? Do we remember what that was? Biden hired how many people for the IRS? 87,000, was it? Were they really hired for the IRS? Or were they hired for something else? Guys, listen, you know, I've been saying it, and I could say it until I'm red in the face. I could scream it from the highest mountaintop. I could have hundreds of different podcasts. But at the end of the day, you kind of just have to look at everything and you say, geez, this stuff is just way too coincidental. And it is a scripted plot to take down the cabal worldwide once and for all and give us our freedom back. Stop the modern day slavery. Stop the monopoly on human lives. It's not about an election. It's not about a president. It's not about anything but getting our life back that was stolen from us for the last 200 years. That's what it's about. And they, for some reason, the White Hats played it out this way. We're probably going to find out why it was played out this way. We're probably going to find that out in very short order. And it's going to be biblical. It's going to be amazing. And at the end of all of it, you're going to sit there and you're going to say, well, it was worth it. It's going to take a while to get to that point, to get mentally to that point, because a lot of us have lost loved ones because of the, remdesivir, because of the fake vaccine, because of the mRNA and everything that happened. A lot of us lost a lot of people. Some of us lost people to suicide because of job loss or because of stress. Some of us lost people to jail. He mentioned Peter Navarro. He mentioned the January 6th prisoners. So many of us have been wronged in so many ways. So it's hard to sit there and say, okay, well, it was worth it. It's very, very difficult to say something like that. But again, if you look at it from a 40,000 foot view and you see all of the good that came out of all of the loss that we've had, I think we're all going to say it was well worth it. And I'm so glad I lived through it. I'm so glad to be alive at this time in history, which is such a pivotal point for humanity. And to be honest with you, that's one of the main reasons why I do these live streams like I do. I wanted to document this time in history of educating my followers, keeping them informed about what's going on behind the scenes that they probably wouldn't have known otherwise. And I wanted this portion of history to forever be documented. You know, I wanted this to live on forever for my kids, for their kids, and for everything else. I want them to look back at some of these things, some of these videos, these live streams that I did on the dates that I did them. And when the whole story comes out, when the final chapter is written, they look back and say, hey, you know, this is cool. My dad was doing a good thing back then. So I hope you enjoyed the live. Like I said, we're going to do another live probably within the next few days. I don't know when yet, but keep an eye on Telegram and I'll announce that as soon as I could. Maybe a little bit more of a Q&A format next time so we could comment on Raikkonen and I could give you some more details and whatever questions you might form. I'm not going to do a Q&A tonight because I don't have the time to do it. But thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry, I know it's late on the East Coast. Sorry about the last couple nights. But we'll get back to it, you know, again this week, and you know, we'll get a Q&A going, we'll get a dialogue started, and keep your eye on silver because things are happening there too. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you soon.